Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. First of all, I extremely apologize for the delay because of the traffic rush. So we are about to begin. We have gathered here today to observe the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people declared by the United Nations. Today we have among us His Excellency, the Embassy of the State of Palestine in Bangladesh as guest of honor. We have invited Ambassador Masood Mannan to present the keynote address. He is on his way. The observance will be presided over by Professor Mansur Musa, Vice President, United Nations Association of Bangladesh. May I request the President, Professor Mansur Musa, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Palestine, to kindly come to the dais.
Mike, please.
Sir.
So, we are already late. Our keynote speaker, Ambassador Masood Mannan, he is on his way. But we have his written speech. If the President allows, so may I request Mr. Jahangir Hussain, one of the Secretary of United Nations Association of Bangladesh, to read out the speech of the Professor Masood Mannan.
Good evening, Honorable President of the session, Professor Mansur Musa, His Excellency, Ambassador of Palestine, and ladies and gentlemen, General Secretary of UNAB, Bangladesh. The keynote presentation on the occasion of International Day of Solidarity and with Palestinian people, written by Ambassador Masood Mannan, NDC, former Secretary and Ambassador of Government of Bangladesh. Every year, on this day, the international community stands in solidarity for the dignity, rights, justice, and self-determination of the Palestinian people. This day is generally held on November 29 each year to mark the anniversary of Resolution 181, which advocated for partition of Palestine into two states, on Arab and on Jewish. Background: the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people is observed by the United Nations on or around 29 November each year, in accordance with the General Assembly mandates contained the Resolution 32/40B of 2nd December 1977, 34/65D of 12th December 1979, and subsequent resolutions adopted under the agenda items questions of Palestine. The date of 29 November was chosen because of its meaning and significance to the Palestinian people. On that day, in 1947, the General Assembly adopted a resolution 81/2, which came to be known as Palestine Resolution. That resolution provided for the establishment in Palestine of a Jewish state and Arab state, with Jerusalem as the corpus separatum under the special international regime of the two states to be created under this resolution, only one Israel has so far come into being. The Palestinian people, who now number more than 8 million, live primarily in the Palestinian territory occupied independence and sovereignty, and the right to return to their homes and property from which they have been displaced. In response to the call of the United Nations, various activities are undertaken annually by the governments and civil society in observance of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. These activities include, among other things, the issuance of special messages of solidarity with the Palestinian people, the organization of meetings, the dissemination of publication and other information material, and screening of films. At United Nations headquarters in New York, the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People each year holds a special meeting to observe the International Day of Solidarity. Speakers include the General Secretary, the President of the General Assembly, the President of the Security Council, and the representative of the relevant United Nations bodies, intergovernmental organization, and Palestine. A message from the chairman of the executive accredited to the committee addresses the meeting. A special bulletin containing the text of the statement delivered and the message received on the occasion of the International Day of Solidarity is published annually by the Division for Palestinian Rights of the United Nations, with the observation include a Palestinian exhibit and or a cultural event sponsored by the committee and presented by the Permanent Observer Mission of Palestine to the United Nations, as well as the screening of film. United Nations information centers and services worldwide available of assist governments, NGOs, and other wishing to organize special activities in the connection with the observance by providing information and documentation. Among the leading countries, the world who support the idea of Palestine to become a sovereign and independent state, just 2 days ago, South African government has reiterated its appeal for an immediate ceasefire in Palestine and Lebanon, and at the start of a political process to ensure a just and lasting peace. South Africa once again calls on the state of Israel to realize that the only way to achieve peace as a two-state solution where Israel will be able to exist side by side in peace with the viable and fully independent Palestine state. Within internationally recognized parameters, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation said in a statement on Monday to mark the 47th UN International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. In the special meeting at UN headquarters in New York held on 26 November 2024, the following dignitaries delivered speeches and expressed their support in solidarity with the people of Palestine. His Excellency Mr. Chick Neng, Chair of the Committee on the Exercise of Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People, Permanent Representative in Senegal to the United Nations. His Excellency Mr. Philemon Young, President of General Assembly. His Excellency Mr. Barbara Woodward, President of the Security Council, Permanent Representative of the United Kingdom to the United Nations. Ms. Amina J. Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. His Excellency Riyad Mansour, Permanent Observer of the States of Palestine, reading out a message from His Excellency Mr. Muhammad Abbas, President of the State of Palestine. Mr. Salem M. Matuk chairs the Affairs Office of the Permanent Representative of the African Union of United Nations, reading on behalf of the Chair of the African Union. Mrs. Nasria Elarja Fleety chairs the Affairs and Deputy Permanent Observer of the League of Arab States of United Nations, reading out a message from His Excellency Mr. Ahmad Abul Gait, Secretary General of Arab League. His Excellency Mr. Duncan Lakai Muhumuja, Deputy Permanent Representative of Uganda to the United Nations, reading out a message on behalf of the Movement on Non-Aligned Countries. His Excellency Mr. Hamid A. Opelekura, Permanent Observer of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to the United Nations, reading out the message from His Excellency Hussein Ibrahim Taha, Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. His Excellency Mr. Peter Mohan Maitri, Chair of the Special Committee of Investigate Israeli Practices Affecting the Human Rights of the Palestinian People and other Arabs on the Occupied Territories, Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations. Dr. Tania Hassan, medical practitioner at Medical Aid for Palestinian MAP Charity CSO speaker. Other messages of solidarity on the same day were received from the According to the Algeria and cumulative effects of the Israel war on Gaza could mean the true death toll could reach more on 186,000 people, according to the study published in the journal Lancet. Bangladesh Stand Chief Advisor Dr. Muhammad Yunus has reaffirmed Bangladesh of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people is being observed on Tuesday. In this message for the day, Yunus called for an independent sovereign Palestinian state based on pre-1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. He highlighted the urgent need for an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire in Gaza to protect innocent lives, particularly women and children. Yunus called for accountability and atrocities against Palestinians as underscored by the International Court of Justice advisory opinion declaring Israeli occupation unlawful. He said Bangladesh continues to stand in solidarity with Palestinian people, supporting the rightful struggle for justice, freedom and dignity, possible future of peace. Thank you very much.
I thank Mr. Jahangir for reading out the keynote speech. For your kind information, the United Nations Association of Bangladesh is observing International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people since it was declared in 1978. I still remember that in 1978, United Nations Association of Bangladesh organized this same symposium at Hotel Purbani, where Barrister Maudud Ahmad, the then Deputy Prime Minister of Bangladesh government, was the chief guest. Since then, since 1978, United Nations Association of Bangladesh have never missed to observe Palestine Solidarity Day. Only I remember once we failed because of the curfew was imposed in the city in the late 80s. In last 2-3 occasions in this same symposium, the present advisor for the Foreign Affairs, Mr. Tawhid Hussain, spoke as guest. So, irrespective of nature of government in Bangladesh, United Nations Association of Bangladesh is continuously expressing its solidarity with the struggling people of Palestine. This is because in the midst of so many differences and disagreement within our nations and society, all the citizens of Bangladesh are united for the cause of Palestine. So before we move to His Excellency the Ambassador, we have a surprise speaker. I think Fatiha Ayat is here. So we may say her a children's speaker to speak a few words. She participated in Palestine events in New York headquarters and also I think in Palestine embassy in Dhaka. So I request Fatiha Ayat to speak a few words.
Good evening, distinguished delegates, esteemed guests, and advocates for justice. Today we gather on the International Day for Solidarity with the Palestinian people, and it's a day that serves as both a reminder and a challenge. It reminds us of the people that have struggled through decades of occupation and suffering and hardship, and it reminds us and it challenges us to turn solidarity into action. As a 13-year-old child rights activist and climate campaigner, I've had the privilege of speaking at various forums, such as the United Nations, on behalf of the voiceless. However, when I speak on this Palestine issue, I'm constantly haunted by a question, right? How many more speeches does it require for the world to start acting? Let me share a story that represents both and embodies both the challenges and the resilience of Palestinian people. There is a 12-year-old girl in Gaza and her name is Amal. Amal, her name means hope, but her reality is anything but hopeful. Amal once dreamt of becoming a teacher, but her school was destroyed in an airstrike. Her home was reduced to rubble, forcing her and her family to live in a makeshift home with no running water or electricity. Amal's younger brother died of preventable illnesses due to a lack of medical supplies. Amal and her family are, most of the day, they go to sleep hungry. Amal once said that, "I don't dream anymore because dreams don't survive here." Amal's story is not unique. It represents the harsh reality of millions of Palestinian people who day by day have to suffer and go through these challenges. Let's also consider the broader context. The United Nations has passed over 750 resolutions regarding this Palestinian issue. However, for example, there's United Nations General Assembly Resolution 194, which affirms the rights of Palestinian refugees to return back to their homeland. There's Security Council Resolution 242, which calls for Israel to withdraw from the occupied territories in the Six-Day War in Gaza. Yet these resolutions remain unimplemented, ignored, and openly violated. The continued expansion of illegal settlements, the blockade on Gaza, and the systematic denial of human rights in Palestine represents blatant violations of human rights and human dignity. So the question before us is, what exactly can we do to honor our solidarity with the Palestinian people? Well, we can uphold international law. The United Nations must enforce all of its resolutions, and if any violations go unchecked, it is a challenge for the United Nations and its institution. We can increase humanitarian support. We must provide aid to those in need, and we must lift the blockade from Gaza to allow immediate access to those who need the aid the most. We can amplify voices. As global leaders, it is our duty to make sure that stories of children and people like Amal are heard. Awareness can mobilize action. We can hold those accountable. We can, as a global community, we can hold Israel and those violators of international law accountable, because justice cannot be selective. And finally, we can demand accountability. The international community must come together, and we can promote peace and dialogue to make sure that sustainable peace is represented and the world can work together to ensure a more equitable society for all. As many of the UN officials are here today, I must say that it is evident and obvious that the SDGs set by the United Nations are also, the Palestinian people are also being deprived of these SDGs. So from this awareness and concern, I've decided to develop an Olympiad named the Zero Olympiad, which aims to mobilize action for the youth and turn all the SDGs into zero. SDGs don't necessarily start with zero, but each aim towards a transformative action for that way. For example, we've transformed SDG number 4, which is quality education, to zero illiteracy. We've transformed SDG 14, which is life below water, to zero ocean pollution, and so on. So, after winning the first 2 rounds from over 50,000 contestants, the final 17 contestants will participate in the grand finale of this Zero Olympiad to represent and showcase their transformative and innovative ideas on how they can implement their ideas in society. I would like to invite all of you to the grand finale on the 8th of February, which is a Saturday, 2025, to attend the grand finale. So, dear delegates, I hope that I will see you all there, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatiha. Now I have the honor to invite to this guest of honor, His Excellency Mr. Yusuf S.Y. Ramadan, Ambassador, Embassy of the State of Palestine in Bangladesh, to deliver his speech. Before you, His Excellency Mr. Yusuf S.Y. Ramadan.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. President of the UNB, Excellencies, Ambassadors, colleagues, brothers, sisters, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to start by just making small comments on what Fatiha said. But we Palestinian people have a special resilience related to Amal. We can never ever give up hope. Because without hope, we will not survive. Without hope, we will not fight. Without hope, we have no choice. No one will help us. No one will stand us. And you know, Amal comes from where? It comes from people like you, who give this support to the Palestinian struggle. People like you all over the world, they have shown themselves for the last 1 year in a courageous manner how they support the Palestinian and the struggle of the Palestinian people, and we are extremely proud of them. Those people, such people like yourself, represent power which charge our battery to continue our struggling life. So thank you for each and every word you have said, and thank you for supporting the cause of Palestine, because we are in desperate need of people like you, your generation. It's very important. Thank you very much again. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to stand before you today to express the greeting of the State of Palestine and the Palestinian people to all our dear brothers and sisters in Bangladesh and all around the world who gathered together to show support for us on the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. On November 29, 1947, the United Nations adopted Resolution 181, which called for a partition of Palestine. It's obviously unjust resolution. And it was in 1977 that the UN General Assembly declared this date as a day of solidarity with the Palestinian people, recognizing our struggle for justice and fulfillment of our rights. So 30 years before that, they took big part of our land, and after that, they came up with a resolution called for the international solidarity with the Palestinian people. Anyway, thank you, United Nations. Through this resolution, the UN affirmed its historical responsibility toward Palestine and showed that the world, with its absolute majority, stand in support of the Palestinian people and our just cause. However, although the majority of the world, along with international law, is on our side, this has not yet translated into real justice for Palestine, just as Ayah Fatiha said. Ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations has passed numerous resolutions in favor of Palestinian people. Yet, it is with deep regret that I must tell you that for decades, 7.5 decades almost, these resolutions have not been implemented. This failure has deepened the suffering of the Palestinian people, prolonging the conflict and increasing the horrific level of hardship our people face. Indeed, the barbaric aggression against our people is the result of international failure to hold the occupying power, Israel, accountable for the crime it has been committing for the last 77 years. What are we witnessing today in Gaza and the West Bank is a direct result of this inaction. Since October 7, our people have faced a war of extermination and barbaric aggression that is unfit for a human being to tolerate. Mass killing, brutal violence, forced displacement, and the systematic destruction of their homes, hospitals, schools, universities, bookstores, shops. Israel has even politicized the entry of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip and used forced starvation as a way to further deepen the famine and weaken our people. On top of that, Israel has banned UNRWA from operating inside Palestine. This is UN agency responsible for providing 70% of the basic need of Palestinians, such as food, healthcare, education, and more. The scale of the suffering is unimaginable. Over 45,000 people have been martyred, including 17,500 children and 12,000 women. Just women and children represent 71% of the total that we have lost in Gaza Strip for the last 14 months. We have 105,000 people have been injured. And those, ladies and gentlemen, are not statistics, not just numbers. They are mothers, fathers, children, and families torn apart that will never be the same again. Tens of thousands of children are left orphaned, disabled, unable to go to school, and wondering how they can survive in the coming cold rain with no food or shelter, without their parents to protect them. The situation in Gaza is a tragedy, but it is not an isolated one. The same policies of land theft, settlement expansion, and ethnic cleansing are being carried out in the West Bank and in Jerusalem. More than 15,000 Palestinians are being illegally detained in the Israeli prison, where they are tortured, starved, sexually assaulted, and denied necessary medical care. This is the reality of occupation. the daily denial of our rights and the destruction of our future. The justice that we seek continue to be out of reach as the extremist Israeli government commits war crimes against our defenseless people. Our people suffer as Netanyahu's government refuses to implement the United Nations resolution and completely disregard the international system. The catastrophic conditions experienced by our Palestinian people, along with the comprehensive destruction of their capabilities by the occupying power, require all of us to act, just like Fatiha ayah said. All countries must take effective measures to put a stop to the ongoing crimes of genocide and displacement against our people. It is time to enforce the resolutions of the United Nations Security Council, the General Assembly, and the International Criminal Court, and the crimes being committed must not go unpunished. About a week ago, the International Criminal Court issued 2 arrest warrants against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant on charges of committing war crimes and crimes against humanity. This is an important step toward achieving justice and supporting our Palestinian people who have been subjected to injustice for 77 years, and toward ending decades of impunity of the illegal Israeli occupier. We hope the ICC will succeed. We are grateful to the 7 countries that referred the Palestinian case to the ICC. And we must especially thank Bangladesh for being one of those 7 countries. For some of you who might not know, yes, Bangladesh is one of those 7 countries who refer the case to the ICC. Bangladesh has historically always been a true friend to the Palestinian people and its government, and people are shining example of solidarity with oppressed people everywhere. My dear brothers and sisters, on this day we honor you and millions around the world who stand with us in our quest for justice and truth. We thank the people who have marched, protested, boycotted, and spoken out in solidarity with Palestine, and called out the barbaric occupier at every chance. Some of those brave people, they paid the price, but still, they continue to tell the truth. They continue to face the challenges with the support of everyone. They will reach the target. There is a time we should tell the world that Israel has no right to use the word of anti-Semitic anymore. They have no right to use the Holocaust as a sword on our heads. It is time to stop that. We all are human beings. We all the creation of Allah. There is no high and no low. We should all be under the law, and none of us should be above the law, whether you call yourself Semitic or non-Semitic. This should be clear, and I hope the world, especially the Western world, will come to this conclusion. The Palestinian people will continue to resist, to fight for our land, our freedom, and our dignity, and we will not stop until justice is achieved, no matter how many lives they take from our people, how many children, how many wives, how many mother, sister they take. We will never give up our fight. We will continue until the last day, until we achieve our freedom and dignity, no matter what happens. As long as we live and breathe, we will fight for justice. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
On behalf of the organizer and the audience present here, I like to thank His Excellency Mr. Yusuf Ramadan for his speech. It is the time for the presidential speech. Let me invite Professor Mansoor Musa, a Vice President of UNAB, to give the presidential speech.
Assalamu alaikum. Excellencies and today's keynote speaker and the Director General of UNAB. Good evening. We have just listened to three very important speech. One by our keynote speaker, Masood Manna, and then secondly is Fatiha, young scholar who is our hope for the future. And Embassy of the State of Palestine, Mr. Yusuf Ramadan, has given an update of the situation in Israeli aggression on Palestinian people. And you are also very aware of the situation in. So I would not like to elaborate on that point. I would like to say the state of Palestine and the nature of the world politics from learned diplomat, we have heard about that. Masood Mannan yet to come, but I know him. I have great regard for his erudition and his professionalism. I have nothing to add or nothing to explain. I have a humble submission to you about the veto power of the five powerful states. Veto power was conferred on powerful state in the context of World War II at the end of the 1945. Decisive role during the liberation war of Bangladesh. I have not forgotten about that. It was at that time Soviet Union. Now, who supported Bangladesh, and it was who was against it. US was against it. But the Soviet Union is no longer exist. It is no more Soviet Union, it's the Russian Federation now. It is no, who is exercising veto power? Instead of Soviet Union, it is Russian Federation is exercising the same power. But this is not the same state. So there is a big question for United Nations to reconsider it, whether their power would be with them. I don't know. two states are different in ideology and commitment. I mean, Soviet Union and Russian Federation are not the same state to community to the overall community. Now, the one of the big power is for Israel. You know, one of the big power is always supporting Israel. Our Honorable Excellency said, how many times resolution was taken in the United States, United Nations, but it was never implemented. Who will implement it? Big powers, they are the people who will implement it. But so in exercising veto power, they are obstructing the implementation of the resolution. Now, one of the big power is for Israel, and more powerless states in favor of Palestine, including us. Every night we see in the world how the brutally Israel is killing, as you have heard, men, women, children and journalists in Israel, in Palestine by the Israeli army. And this is one of the barbarous genocide in the history of the world. Palestinian people and the neighboring states have been suffering from brutal aggression of Israel and its expansionist policy. Now Lebanon and other states are also affected by it. A considerable part of humanity, women, children and journalists, are destroyed by a dictatorial authority of Israel. That dictatorial power has been supported by a big power. Now the powers who are against or who are inactive regarding the two-state solution of the Israeli have lost the moral authority. They have lost moral authority to say anything about that. So UN General Secretary General, who is with all his sincerity, could not continue pursue the big powers to stop and supply the arms to the Israel. So we must be vocal about, if you don't have arms, if you stop arms to Israel, then they are checked. Now you are supplying arms to Israel and not implementing any resolution, so it's a double standard. So my humble submission is that the powers of state, the submission is that the power of veto should be curtailed or redistributed at a time when UNAB is unable to function as a moral authority of mankind. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we formally conclude, let me thank today's guest of honor, Ambassador of the State of Palestine, and His Excellency the Ambassador and High Commissioners, members of the Diplomatic Corps present here. I'd like to thank Mr. Masood Mannan, though he was arrested in the traffic jam, but we have presented his keynote speech here. to our young friend Fatiha Ayat, and the representative of the media present here, and the guest. I thank you very, very much and invite you to join us over a cup of tea. Thank you.